Back in the good old days when people needed to buy something, they used to have something called the barter system. If you had something that I wanted and I had something that you wanted, we would essentially just exchange those goods or services. Then came gold. We established that gold had value and we used to give gold in exchange for goods or services. And then came the paper currency. We used to stockpile the gold and against that issue paper currency so that the paper currency had a fraction of the value of the gold that was stored. Now this was all well and good because it enabled us to transact efficiently and easily. But then this ease was taken to the next level with the introduction of credit cards and most recently these companies that offer you schemes that allow you to buy now and pay later. Now, as evil as credit cards might seem to be, these new companies that offer this facility are really putting people into a lot of trouble. Because at least when you apply for a credit card, there were some checks in place. There was a barrier to entry. If you didn't meet certain criteria, you would not be given the credit card. And not just that, there were forms to fill, there were places to go to, all of this before you even receive the credit card. But now with buy now, pay later, it's become as easy as sitting in your house and downloading an app. But what does this really mean for you and me? This ease is enabling us to not think as much before we spend. Now this whole buy now, pay later thing has been marketed as something that we need. It is something that's going to help us out of difficult situations. Now that's all well and good if it was only on bread and water, because that's all we need to survive. You don't need to buy now and pay later on things that you want, things that are unnecessary, toys that are unnecessary, things like gadgets, things like your vacations. Let's say you have $1,000 in your bank account today. You go out and you spot a phone that you really want, and that phone costs $1,100. Now this would have been a problem just a few years ago. But today, all you have to do is buy now and pay later. But what is it in you that thinks that if you don't have the money this month, that you would in fact have it next month? Why is this a requirement? Why do you have the urge that makes you purchase something with cash that you don't have? Now you might come back and tell me, I'm expecting a promotion to come in, I'm expecting my bonus to come in, I'm expecting my expenses not to be as high next month. But that's irrelevant. That's not something that you know for sure today. You see, the problem is tomorrow you might not get that additional income and you might in fact incur an expense that was not foreseen. Maybe there's an emergency medical expense next month. What are you going to do then? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to use buy now, pay later on that expense as well when you haven't paid off this extra spend from the previous month, and all of a sudden you're in this rabbit hole where you don't know how to get out of these expenses. If you don't purchase these things, is it really going to affect your life in any way? If you're that broke, do you really need to purchase the $1,100 phone if your phone is broken and you can do with a $300 phone? These are things that you really need to consider seriously, because you need to figure out if the pleasure that you get out of making these purchases are in fact going to be worth it in the long run, or having that nest egg, having those investments in place so that you have a peaceful life is more worth it in the long run. We are spending money that we don't have today. That is increasing our buying power. When buying power increases, that is going to increase demand. When demand increases, prices increase. And we are spending more for something that should cost less with money that we don't have. So leave a like now, stop spending money that you don't have, make a budget and spend wisely. Now watch this video and I'll catch you there. Take care.